All right. I've been putting up a bunch of posts about independent candidates, and I'm getting two kind of feedback comments, questions that come out of it. The first one is, why now? Why am I doing this now? There's no election right now. And the reason is because now is when we have to start. If this is going to work, independent candidates need to have their act together before an election is called. They have to have actually committed mentally to the process. They have actually had to research it, get their nomination forms, have everything in place so that when the writ is dropped and the election is called, they're already ready to go. They already have their volunteers in place. They're already like, boom, got it happening. Okay, so we have to have that done already. The second thing that I hear back all the time is the typical feedback is, there's no way an independent candidate is ever going to get elected on PEI. No way, not a chance. That would be true if we stick with the way we've been doing it, which is one or two candidates running. I mean, think about it, and you can check my fancy graphics here. If there are 27 Liberal MLAs and 27 Liberal candidates, 27 Conservative candidates, a bunch of NDPs and Greens, that's a lot of voices out there shouting the political party message. And if you've only got one or two independent voices, not going to be able to be heard. They can easily be ignored by everybody and everything. Now, let's change the game. What happens if you put 3 or 4 independent candidates in every district? That changes everything. You go from having 1 or 2 lone voices to 75 or 100 voices out there. And technically, they're competing, but they're not. What they're doing is they're educating people about 2 things. They're educating them about independent candidates, which is the role of being a representative, not somebody who's in power, but somebody who's in service. And the idea of consensus government, the idea that we don't need one group to be in power and one to be in opposition. What we need is things like the way we run our school boards and city councils and all kinds of things, and how they do things in Nunavut and Nebraska. Everybody who's elected comes to the table to work, and they are there to represent their constituents. That's the agenda. It's not something that's thought up by a think tank or something else. The agenda is the constituents. So anyways, I'm curious to know, what would happen if we ran multiple independent candidates, not we. What would happen if multiple independent candidates ran in every district? Well, ideally, it would change the discourse because independent candidates represent their constituents, so the discourse would now include the concerns of constituents. You'd have a different campaign. Things would run differently. Would independent candidates join together to form a loose network where they share resources, media, where they work together? I would hope so. Would the election coverage or conversation change with an entirely new element? Absolutely. The media can ignore a couple of isolated independent candidates, but could they ignore 75 or 100? Not a chance. So what would it take to try this out? Well, first we'd need 100 awesome Islanders who believe the government should be honest, fair, transparent, and accountable. These groovy folks need to come without their own agendas. They need to be unbiased and neutral because they are there to represent their constituents' concerns, not govern, right? So that's really important. So we're looking for 100 people who believe the government should be fair, honest, transparent, and accountable, and who don't have their own agendas that they're bringing to the table. They're there to represent. Do these folks need lots of money? Absolutely not. It is a new world. It's not the old system. And also, we would be leveraging the power of 75, 100 people and all the people behind them who would be educating Islanders about consensus government and independent candidates and how we can do things differently here if we just choose to. So there you go. That's my message. Why now? Because you have to be ready. You can't wait until the election is called. You need to get your forms together. You need to get your people lined up. You need to know where your signatures are coming from. You need it all in place so that you can submit on day 1 or 5 or whatever, just like all the political parties do, because that's what they are doing right now. And number 2, we need to be able to get that message out there. So anyways, be ready. I'm going to leave you with a quote from The Art of Rulership, which is a really old book like The Art of War. For one man, it is impossible to move the huge boulder, but for 100 men, it is no effort at all. So I'm curious, do we have 100 men and women on PEI who will move the huge boulder? Who's going to step up? Can we do this? Will you join the revolution? So, yeah, love y'all. It's going to be fun. Bye.